All right. Oh, my goodness. We might have to figure out a singing, dancing version of this, too. My goodness. Awesome. One of my friends on Facebook says, awesome sauce. So thank you, Amy. That was awesome. All right. Well, good morning some more. Hang on while I, get my life in order here. Well, we have the privilege of talking about some more fun stuff this morning. For starters, we have a new theme for 2023, and it is called Living Out Loud. Okay? So that's why I'm usually very subtle, but I'm working on the whole out loud thing. Okay, so the other thing is that we have a theme for the month of January, which harkens back to traditions in this teaching forever, which is to return to our roots. It's called Root and Reboot. The idea is to return to our spiritual roots, the tried and true teachings, yes, you can say that, tried and true teachings of this science of mind and spirit. And if you don't know what they are, just stick around because you're about to find out. To assist us in rebooting, because it's a brand new year and we're still ready for it to be amazing and better than ever before. And also to assist us in living out loud. So today we get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about the universal voice. That is the voice that is everything. And it is in everything. It's in you, it's in me, and as we used to sing, it's in every one of us. So this voice invites us to say yes to what is possible. And we hear, even if you just heard it more recently from Deepak Chopra, that we live in a field of infinite possibility. So there's a lot that's possible. This voice also shows us how to have access to that possible and make it a reality by using that voice, because it has a special power. Universal, of course, means everywhere, and voice means expression. So spirit is expressing everywhere all the time by means of you and me and everyone and everything. Isn't that cool? Well, here's another cool thing that I want to share with you about what Spirit's voice does. Part of this comes from something called the extension course of the science of mind. It's featured in the appendix of a tiny little book that we're using on our Lunch and Learns called The Basic Ideas of Science of Mind. So if you go to the very back, you can read about this. But Ernest Holmes says that spirit creates by becoming the thing that it thinks about. Spirit creates by becoming the thing that it thinks about. Spirit creates by self-contemplation. So here's what Thomas Troward, another New Thought brainiac, had to say about that. There may be a copy of this one out there in the bookstore too. It's called The Creative Process in the Individual. And if you really want to go on a magic carpet ride, read that book. You don't need anything else to induce the state of consciousness that will result. He says this. Now, he is a metaphysician who interpreted ancient wisdom, including and not limited to metaphysical interpretations of biblical teaching. And he came up with this interpretation. He said that the first time that spirit contemplated itself, it said something like this: I wonder, what would it be like to have a friend? Isn't that cool? I just love that. I love that. What would it be like, I wonder, to have a friend? And then it became the thing that it thought about. Because another aspect of Spirit's nature, which is ours too, and we will get to that, is that it is pure. It is responsive. It is creative. And so what it does is it becomes the thing that it thinks about. So the whole idea, according to Troward, is that's what Genesis is. That's how we got here. Spirit thought of otherness, of two-ness, of companionship, of friendship, of someone to relate to. And here we are. And here is everything. I love that idea. So we too have the same capacity. Our self-contemplation causes us and our lives and our experiences to show up according to what we think about. Genesis, this just came to me in one sentence like yesterday, is creation by becoming. Genesis is the art of creation by becoming. So that's totally different from wishing and hoping. This is powerful stuff. So once an idea is wondered about, there's this thing called the creative process that kicks in and starts to respond and to create perfectly according to the impression that we make upon it with our thought. And some of you have heard this here, and some of you have heard this in many other places at this point, that you add feeling and emotion and you are literally off to the races. So this universal voice is doing something that some of us call Genesis. It is creating. And it's creating by using that voice. For those of you who look at those origins of this teaching, the first few words of Genesis are, in the beginning was the Word. So in the beginning of every creative process, in the beginning of every creative sequence, in the beginning of every creative unfoldment is the Word, or that universal voice. That voice that doesn't just say, hey, you know what? There's a lot of cool stuff that we could be doing. What do you say? Are you game? It also says, you do what I did and imagine what it is that you would like to experience, and this other aspect of me that is you too will just respond and show up as that. It's kind of amazing that we've spent thousands of years feeling like our good is out of reach. It's amazing that we have blamed others for not having it. And you know what? We can just skip the regret and say, now I know I'm going to get busy and I'm going to start living out loud, because now I understand that this is always going on and I can allow it to work for me. That's what we do around here. So if all of that is true, why on earth do some of us make such a great effort to limit and minimize and downplay our big ideas, our inspirations, and our desires? Why do we do that? I think I have some possible answers that you might agree with. There are a variety of them. So one of them might be that there's nobody in your family or in your group or in the people that you currently work with and live around or know of in your purview who's ever done that thing before. So the idea of that thing is not in your consciousness as possible. It's okay. Maybe you witnessed someone do that thing and they got in trouble. Maybe what happened is They did that crazy thing, and it was perceived as crazy because nobody had done it before, and not everybody liked them for it. Maybe they did this thing that looked so scary and risky that they got hurt a few times along the way, and you're not sure you want to do that either. Maybe they did something so unusual and so bold that they appeared to be all alone, and you thought, my goodness, I'm not giving up all that just so I can do something original. Maybe you know someone or you are someone who got in trouble for rocking the boat. Maybe you got grief or got grounded or got slapped or whatever for daring to have a new idea. There's this thing about codependence, by the way. The law in a codependent system is that growth is not allowed. So if you have the audacity to get better, to get well, to get whole, and to live out loud around a bunch of people who are holding back, they're going to put you under the bus because it's threatening to their way of life. There's this thing that many of us have learned to do, which is to hang on to that which is familiar. It's already known. We have a teaching here that says everything in the physical manifest universe, in my body and my affairs and yours, is the world of effects, that they have no power in and of themselves. Wow, that's a big one. And yet we give them power over us every day because we believe in it, because we use that voice, which is creative, which is generative, to create a reality that says, okay, if you say so, that's the way it is. So this voice inside of us is bold. It doesn't have limits. It doesn't hesitate. It's not worried about getting in danger. It's not worried about being ostracized. It's not worried about looking different. It's too much fun. It is way too much fun being to entertain the idea of limitation, to hold back, to minimize. And every one of us reaches not just one point, but many in our lives where we get to make that decision. Should I hold back and fit in? Should I avoid rocking the boat? Should I comply with the established system? Then I'll be safe. Then I won't get hurt. No harm will come to me. Well, you know what happens? When we divert and detour and thwart the expression of full life through us, some of it just has to go around us because we can't limit life, but we can limit our experience of it with our thinking, with our word, with our voice. When we do that, that life energy gets bottled up and pent up. We can end up with dis-ease. We can end up with depression. We can end up with all kinds of stuff that's not who we are and what's possible for us. And we can change it. Like A Course in Miracles says, in a holy instant, the moment we remember who we truly are and use that voice on purpose for good. So my question to you today then is, if spirit is this voice that says, hey, let's go out and play, shall we? Would you be willing to say yes? Would you be willing to venture at this point in your life that you will not only live to tell about it, you will have a better life because of it? You've heard me talk about this before. Some of the people in my life who have watched me take risks have initially thought I was out of my mind. And then they changed over to admiration or appreciation for whatever it was. Courage, a little bit of necessary insanity to try something new. It took a while, and I would never go back to holding back, because in experimenting with living out loud, I have found out how wonderful it feels, and I don't want to give it up, and I know that I don't need to, and I know that nobody does. I'm certain of that. So what I want to suggest is this. This voice of life is forever beckoning you forward to good and greater good. This voice of life is also always showing you how to access that good with the very power of it. Because what you think about and allow yourself to feel and to speak about and to act along with just opens out a way for that thing to be real. We can release small, limiting ideas that say that we've got to hold back or wait. And we can burst forward and live out loud, and I assure you, whether it's that idea that you will grow wings on the way down, or like Indiana Jones, you'll take that step into the void and find this transparent but solid surface beneath your feet, or whatever it is, I am absolutely certain you will land on your feet and your life will be better for it. Yeah. Amen. So let's do this. Let's remember that we're just a few days into 2023, and we are committed to living out loud. Let's remember that this month is for us to reflect on all of the things that have really worked for us and call upon them and use them to root and reboot. Let's remember that this week we have the opportunity to recognize the creative power of our voice as the power of all life, because that is who and what we are. And let's accept that invitation to go out and play. What do you say? Yes. 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 Okay. And so it is.